Protect your crypto with the ultimate security solution, a hardware wallet. Say goodbye to sleepless nights worrying about hacks or theft. Secure it with a hardware wallet today. IsoShop, your #1 authorized reseller for Philippines.
Goddamn, baby. I'm telling you. Run that back. Move like this. Run that back.
Welcome, everybody. Today we're here for the second episode of Web3 Weekly, brought to you by Mozegan. And we have a very cool show tonight with co-founders of Xctuality, Warren and Adrian. And we're here to talk about sustainable solutions, the open metaverse, personified NFTs, and a whole lot more. So thank you for tuning in. We're on Facebook Live and YouTube Live right now, but I'd love to welcome the guests to the show today, Warren and Adrian.
Thanks, Nick. Hi, everybody.
Thanks, Nate. Good evening.
Good evening, guys. And I know you're in Singapore, so thank you for staying up late tonight with us. It's probably, 9 p.m. there, Singapore time?
Yep.
Yeah.
A little past 9.
Nice. Well, again, appreciate you for jumping on board for those who subscribe to Web3 Weekly, we wrote an article earlier this week about sustainable solutions. And tonight we're going to dive into that a little bit. But before we go deep, I want to get a little bit of a background. So Warren and Adrian, like, paint me a picture about how you guys met, how you guys connected, and perhaps even how you found Web3.
You want to start or shall I start?
Why don't you
Rock,
start,
paper,
Warren?
scissors?
No.
Yeah.
Well, I was actually trying to, find a reason to stay in Singapore. Originally from Singapore, but I spent 23 years of my life in Hawaii.
Nice.
So parents getting older, and I haven't been in Singapore for a very long time. So I wanted to see if I should get a job or start a business. So one thing led to another on the consulting side of things that I do. And then got connected to this events tech company, and that was how I met Adrian.
When was that?
This was back in 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was literally how we met. It wasn't anything like spectacular. It was like, oh, here's this guy, at a meeting, and shook hands, got to learn about, the technology side of the events business.
Yeah.
And then we had the opportunity of doing something together in that same industry. But this was right before COVID happened. So came up with the idea that instead of just humming as per usual, because the industry in Singapore was pretty stable, I would say. But at the same time, a lot of foreign competition coming in. So we decided
the live events.
Events, events industry in general, like mice, the entire mice industry. So maybe there's a better way. Maybe think of being a startup. Maybe get some VC funding. Maybe try to push the technological boundaries. And I grew up in the age of Dungeons and Dragons and reading. Choose your own adventure via books, right? And then board games. But I also played a lot of computer games growing up. So what if there was something we can do with regards to virtual reality, augmented reality? Because I'm a raver. I love going to festivals. And as I get older and more responsible, I tend to go to fewer of them. So sometimes I wish there's a way for me to experience a festival without being there. Or if I'm at the festival, maybe there are certain technology I can use to create that psychedelic effect. You never know, right? So
and you know what? Like,
so
that's what drew me to you guys, right? Like the fact that you are focused on the user experience, and not only are you providing like sustainable solutions to do that, but you're connecting people at a scale that's unmatched at this point, right? Whether it's with your games or whatnot. But I love it. I think it's a very infatuating cause,
When we first began this journey, the technology was still very nascent. It was lots of bits and pieces, and we were still trying to find our way in the dark. This was way before, Facebook changed their name to Meta, right? And we were looking at how can we use different technologies that we see, we can bring them together, but in a way that's intuitive for people to get involved, get immersed, So we had a lot of theories we were testing, and that gave us COVID gave us the platform to quickly iterate and try different things,
That's such a wild catalyst, right? Because it was kind of well known for so many businesses or small startups as like a deterrent, right? Something that kind of crushed liquidity, crushed innovation. But what I find very cool about you guys is that you were able to pivot during that time. You were able to see that, okay, pre-live events or during COVID, there needs to be an iteration. There needs to be an opportunity to like, okay, take what we're doing live, but do it in an asynchronous, maybe metaverse or digital way. And I think that's where the sustainability comes in. That's where the solutions lie. And if you're talking about other people who are like trying to make it up there in terms of startups, like that's where you're able to create a high ceiling, low cost opportunity to get exposure to people that are looking for that kind of stuff. And I just think it's very neat that like your story started pre-COVID and that you're now here post-COVID with a completely different business model based on the pivots or iterations that you had to make during that time. And not only did it serve as a catalyst, it served as like part of like your buy-in, right? Because you realized and you showed people the benefit of like connecting and still keeping creativity alive and creating opportunity to meet up in a space that is sustainable and, you know, long lasting. So yeah, man, very cool stuff. Like I was gonna ask the next question, but Adrian, if you want to talk more about like how you got into space, like I'm open for that. But ultimately, like maybe this would tie in, right? Like the next question was like, what inspired you guys to kind of go deep in Web3, pre-COVID, post-COVID, bull market, bear market, right? It's very different from like a traditional tech startup. So what gave you guys that grit to continue through together as friends?
Maybe this one I'll start first, then Warren can chime in. I've always been a geek, you know, always been trying to break things, trying to figure things out, trying to reverse engineer things, and sometimes getting into trouble for that. And pre-COVID, my interests were with RFID technology, and that built the basis for a lot of the event technology that we built, right? I have had a background in software development and system architecture, but my hobbies have always been around hardware, hacking, you know, so things like the Wi-Fi range extension, cantenas as the hackers call it, things like that, you know. I tried to find ways to bring that back into how can we hack the business, how can we leapfrog into the next evolution of what we're trying to do and problem solve and try to do it in a fun way as well, you know. That's how I got started with events tech. And then as we were looking into the future of events, hey, can we do something different? Can we do something exciting? And then Warren was like, you know, let's try to turn it into something that's more of an interesting technology IP, kind of something that we can turn to a startup, right? So we were looking at different things. I still remember we were ideating on napkins, you know, at Starbucks, talking about the next evolution. I mean, that kind of terms is easily thrown around, but you must remember this was before COVID and VR was still very clunky, right? We had the HTC Vive, which was really huge, and you know,
you had Oculus and
and the cost and the content wasn't there. A lot of things aren't like where it's at right now, you know, with XR, and XR wasn't really commonplace. Most people were calling it AR and combining it with VR. So we had an idea, which because of COVID we needed to accelerate, really, you know, to bring that forward. So we had a lot of moving parts, and that was a lot of experimentation, I think, Warren, right?
Sure. Warren, what's your thoughts on this, man? And then like after that, I want to ask you guys a couple questions in terms of like the problems that you're aiming to solve, because I understand that it's a very wide scope and a very large scale, but like, man, what do you think about what Adrian said?
I think this was my first like unhinged startup experience, in a sense that you know, the canvas was pretty empty, pretty big. And I have some tech knowledge from over the years. So you know, given this new opportunity, I didn't want to mess up, you know, like make the mistakes of a legacy business, right?
Yeah.
So I think when we started on this journey, we really never, in our wildest imagination, predict where we are today, right? So I think when we started, it was more of trying to value add to a lot of our events customers, and then exploring the technology. I mean,
Right.
like we even did this technology for tracking using RFID, and it's being deployed. It was deployed actually with an old client at Sentosa. So it's an adventure park, right? So this happened right before COVID. So when it happened, it kind of shifted everyone's focus.
Mm.
So from what we did back then to what we're doing now,
Mm.
we're kind of still following similar approaches, because instead of tracking using RFID, we're now envisioning, like what you were introducing earlier, our Persona NFT,
Right.
which we strongly believe will revolutionize how we track digital footprint, right? But
Right.
done in
Right.
such a way that it doesn't infringe on a user's privacy. Okay, and then there are other capabilities we're building into it, and also we're using cameras now to do more than just tracking. We're trying to use cameras to understand a user's sentiment and emotion. So I guess if you compare it to the RFID tracking to what we're doing now, same but different.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to add value to our B2B clients, but at the same time, reimagine how a user's experience could become if we have a better understanding of the user's behavior and digital footprint, right? So we're always trying to, like stretch the imagination of our original thesis of a technology,
Yeah.
right? So NFT might just be a smart contract, but I think its ability to impact businesses and lifestyle, it's even bigger, right?
Nice.
So
Yeah.
we just have to really imagine. So I think having this blank canvas, mostly blank canvas, enabled us to just go wild with our thought process.
Like for everybody out there listening on YouTube and Facebook Live right now, we've heard the good, bad, and the ugly about NFTs. We need a fresh narrative, and I think what attracted me to you guys is your sustainability initiatives, your partnerships that you kind of alluded to in terms of privacy with Koti, and we'll get into that later, but also like the physical experiences, right? Like the RWA aspect to it, the ability to like do what you're doing in terms of like tokenizing the rainforest or like meta farms and whatnot. Like what you're doing at this moment is kind of like underselling, right? But you're also educating. Like you're underselling the fact that like what you're trying to do in Singapore with a lot of good backing is help create like a better urban experience and more sustainable, like, which is not usually like coupled with blockchain or crypto, like, but sustainability and Web3, it doesn't go hand in hand, but you guys are flipping the script on that, right? So like, talk to me a little bit about like the physical experience, like how do you define it? What do people look for? And how does it help tie into like the sustainability initiatives, right? Like with what you're doing, because it's a massive project, but we first need to understand and change the narratives around the NFTs and a bit of the impact that blockchain has on sustainability itself.
Yeah. So phygital is a play on two words, physical and digital. It could also be physical and virtual. So when we had this framework of combining physical and virtual worlds together, we didn't start using that terminology, phygital. It wasn't until later when we thought we were crazy, but someone else just published on paper that, oh, this is how you describe physical and digital, phygital.
Right.
And then Gartner Research came out with their research paper specifically saying that their definition of the metaverse is convergence of physical and digital worlds or virtual
Mm,
worlds.
mm,
So that closely aligned with how we see the metaverse. It's not a game. It's not just a digital twin. It's not just for
mm.
use in Industry 4.0 manufacturing logistics. It is the next evolution of the internet, the visual layer, the gel that combines or connects everything together from data that you previously cannot see, but suddenly with the metaverse you can visualize, right?
Mm.
So this is our definition of the metaverse. So when we launched it officially back in 2022, we felt that we needed to launch it with a way to show the world what we meant.
Mm.
Maybe Adrian, you can
Yeah,
take this
so
further.
Yeah.
with the metaverse, when we first were trying to bring it out to fruition, a lot of people didn't know what the metaverse was, right?
Sure. Sure.
I mean, I was lucky enough to be involved in virtual worlds, open worlds back since 2007, 2008. But
Wow.
not everyone has had such experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when we first tried to bring the idea out, we needed to use language that people were more, which was more common. So things like smart cities, virtual platforms, virtual experiences.
Yeah. So quick question. I'm sorry to interrupt, but like knowing what we know now in terms of centralization and the benefits of an open metaverse compared to a closed metaverse or a centralized metaverse, which is kind of what Facebook did when you go on the rails of like people talking about terms that they're familiar with. They coined the term meta, right? And they kind of did it in a very nefarious way, right? Like it wasn't very transparent because it's kind of like when you put crypto or blockchain at the end of your domain or your SEO. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're legitimately living the brand. Did you find that being early and then having other people jump on the bandwagon and then water down what you're trying to do, did you find that as a challenge or did you find that as fuel?
So there's always going to need to be education in new technologies, right? And having Facebook change their name to Meta, it started the conversation. So at least people had a common ground to begin with. Whether it was right or wrong is a different thing. But the concept of what a metaverse was, as opposed to when people didn't know what it was or what it could do. And then the way that we bring it to market, the solution, the utility that we provide is where we sell our unique selling point, right? So we differentiate ourselves initially B2B to C, so that we can show businesses, brands initially what we could do with it. So the way you educate your consumer, the way you bring out the unique selling points to solve problems, the utility is important. Same with Web3, right? And you brought up a good point, Nick, about NFTs having this, bad name initially when it first came out because it was collectibles, there were rug pulls, etc. But if you focus on the utility, right? If you focus on what it's built on the Web3 technology, till today, we see that Web3 is a technology that can solve problems, right? It has utility. And just to string you along about the sustainability, because a lot of people might not see the connection between Web3 and sustainability. Web3 can be used to solve problems. Sustainability is a big problem that we face in the world right now.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's how you look at it. It's a change of change of mindset, your frame of reference, and what you can do with that tech. And that's one thing that I really appreciate Warren, because he and I, although we have slightly different backgrounds, sometimes when we bounce things off each other, the kind of solutions we come up with can be quite mind-boggling, because of the different experiences that we have. Yeah.
Nice. I know that you're based in Singapore. I know that Singapore was just the talk of the town in Web3 recently. You guys were there for Token 2049. Walk me through a little bit of that and tell me about the good, bad, and the ugly of Token, maybe the side events, and then if any good partnerships or updates came out of that we should know about.
Well, there were 800 different side events. I don't think it was worthwhile to even get a
Right?
a ticket to the main
Man.
event.
That's
Yeah.
what I heard.
Um,
Right? Everybody said the
yeah,
same
it was
thing.
just
Yeah,
crazy.
800
But
Singapore dollars, right, for the main
yeah,
event, or something like
yeah,
that.
but it's not so much the cost of the ticket, but I think it shows the growth of the industry,
Mm.
the evolution, the state of evolution it's at. The fact that a lot more mainstream, I would say Web2 people coming in, also denotes the impact blockchain in general has had around the
Mm.
world.
Yeah.
And it does help when F1 is that same weekend. So
Does it though? I mean, it wasn't
yeah,
like
It was well
lot of
planned. They
playing.
planned it for that,
yeah,
you know, the high season in Singapore.
Yeah, no,
you know.
I hear you. I hear you. But like,
yeah,
I think you're right. It shows two things. It shows that adoption is coming, even though it doesn't look like what we anticipated it to look like. I think that it shows that the value is in the side events, perhaps not necessarily the main events anymore, because the value is in the almost like the festival itself has become centralized, and then the side events are the decentralized nodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we've made a
Interesting.
few contacts, so I'm following up on them. We finally got to meet our blockchain partner, Cody or Cody,
Yeah.
in the flesh, right? So that was good. Met a few people from there. Met up with a few Web3 VCs. I'm actually having a follow-up meeting with one of them tomorrow.
Nice.
So I think in general it was good. But at the same time, we're just so busy doing our white paper, which we kept delaying and delaying. So it came at a time when we were just completely stretched, and our bandwidth is so limited. But very thankful again, because of the side events, we were basically channeling our attention to only the specific ones that we thought were going to be important.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that brings me to my question that we'll get to after the break. I want to pick your brain a little bit around the narrative and the emerging trends that you saw. Not just the fact that like things have moved towards side events, VCs have moved towards side events, the energy, the vibes, they've all moved towards these like massive amounts of side events. But I want to know a little bit about like partnerships that you talked about. I want to dive into what Koti brings to the table for you guys, and then how you plan to establish more partnerships later. But we're gonna take a quick short break, and yeah, so just stand by, and we'll be right back for more questions, and then we'll open it up to the audience for a little bit of an AMA.
Awesome.
See you guys.
And we're back. with Warren and Adrian from Xctuality for another episode of Web3 Weekly, brought to you by Musegan. And we were just talking about partnerships before the break. We're talking a little bit about Token 2049 as well. And we want to dive deep now into the sustainability initiatives and the partnerships that help those initiatives. So Warren and Adrian, tell me a little bit about how the partnership with Coty influenced the development on your future plans and what you guys plan to achieve in terms of the sustainability initiatives and the privacy initiatives that you put out.
We spent several months looking around for the right protocol, the right layer to develop on.
Right.
We had contemplated about building our own chain, but it's not easy, and it will consume too much time and effort and financial resources. So why not just growth hack, focus on our core strengths, and then partner with a good protocol or layer 2, right? So we looked around, spoke to a few, and I still remember one of our advisors recommending us to talk to Coty. And that very first call, it was like two sides of the same coin meeting together for the first time, right?
Sure.
So they completely understood what we're trying to build, our vision, and really appreciated how we approached problem solving. Just like what you said regarding sustainability, using emerging tech to do so. So when that happened, it was just natural, and we felt like it was the perfect fit. No question about it. Adrian?
Yeah, I mean, when I first heard about them, right? The call was great. The energy was good, but I'm always a bit skeptical, so I always dig into the tech, and a lot of the partners that we are introduced to, when it comes down to the nuts and bolts, it falls through. Things are not really there. The plans aren't in place. Things don't work. My team breaks it too easily. Things like that.
I love it. I love that.
But
Go ahead. Sorry.
But with Coty, my team took a deep dive into it, and the way that they approached it, a lot of L2s were focused on solving problems for monetization reasons, for headline news, for example, to optimize or get it off the main ledger, things like that, to speed up transactions. But Coty was trying something revolutionary, and I think they believed in what Ethereum was doing. Eventually Ethereum managed to speed up the network through the Denkan update that happened earlier this year. And when I saw that, I said, oh dear, that's gonna bring a lot of L2s out of business. But Coty is still riding strong, because having privacy on a public chain was something that's unseen before, and using their Gobble circuits was something that I thought was a very innovative method of putting it on chain, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. Agreed.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that your team tried to break it, right?
That's what you always do, right? Because Web3.
What?
You got to be careful with Web3 projects.
Yeah, you have to. There's almost like the only success criteria is like a stress test, right? We've seen that with so many things. Like Solana has turned off and on again many times. But I think what that shows me is that your thorough investigation of your partnerships, and you guys are very humble, right? That's another thing that I think goes without saying, that you've done a lot of interesting things with interesting partners. So walk me through some of your other high level partnerships that you have, who've also seen the same vision, seen the same solutions that you're providing, whether that's the Singapore government or airport or beyond, right? But tell me a little bit about how as you take this global, your partnerships played a massive role in the support, but also in the vision.
So I guess the exploration of more formal structured partnerships didn't come by accident, because we were trying to educate our potential customers, stakeholders, the use of our technologies. And as we started building more things, so our technology stacks became, I would say, a little bit more mature.
Nice.
And we're building across the entire Web3. So Web3 isn't just blockchain. It's immersive technologies, it's blockchain, it's AI, it's IoTs and edge computing, right? So it's just the evolution of state of technology. So to make sense of it, we decided to perhaps maybe form a JV. And around this time, it was when the first bombs dropped in Ukraine, 2 years ago, February 2 years ago. So I have a lot of Ukrainian friends, and I have this other friend of mine who runs a food and farming startup. Also had a couple of people in his staff from Ukraine. So we just wanted to, maybe come up with something jointly for infrastructure building purposes, but using it as a way to help Ukraine leapfrog into Web3, so to speak, for agriculture. So very quickly, Meta Farms, as you see behind me, was conceived, right? But when we started really putting the plan together, we realized that there are a lot of existential systemic issues in our own backyard. Like Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, Indonesia have a lot of farms, but the average farmer makes only about $400 or $500 a month, and usually having to support a family of 4, husband and wife, 2 kids. And then farming also is becoming a huge problem for a lot of these countries because young people are not going into it. So a lot of farms are becoming empty, and empty farms, not maintained, taken care of, they become ecological concerns, right? It cause wildfire, mudslides, so on and so forth, right? Those are just some of the ones that I can remember. And also land, these farms produce the food that we eat, right? And we hear things like GMOs and stuff like that is because farmers constantly trying to keep up with the harvest yield tend to start injecting pesticides, artificial nutrients, and so on and so forth into the ground in the hope that the yield will be maintained. Okay, so as a result, our food becomes more poisonous, I guess. We may get fed, but we may not necessarily get the right nutrients that our bodies should be having. So anyway, long story short, Meta Farms is built to solve a lot of these problems, as well as helping to reverse climate change. So that's another podcast altogether.
Yeah, that's a deep dive. But just to illuminate more of that, how does someone get involved with Meta Farms, and what is the end-to-end experience for a user who wants to?
The first phase is something very simple: associate real-world assets, aka the farm,
RWAs,
with NFTs, right? And these farms are already producing, and by supporting the farmers through the NFTs, you're providing additional financial resource that the farmers otherwise wouldn't have. And in return, we encourage them to use best practices to grow crops that are a lot more hardy, that don't utilize as much natural resources like water. And also the yield is pretty steady and high. And then we support them with offtake and food trading so that they can make the money by growing their crops, right? Someone is there to buy it and to consume it, right? So that's something, low-hanging first phase as part of our launch.
Did you see this immediately from like a regional standpoint, or did you see the need for this to be global? Because I know you're doing stuff in the Amazon, right? And I understand that you're
Yeah,
also focusing on like urban,
yeah,
like urban development in terms of climate change mitigation.
yeah.
So,
So we're very lucky to have gotten President Marcos's attention in Philippines. So that's where we're
uh
focusing on as far as
nice.
the region is concerned. But for Amazon, it's another joint venture altogether. It's not Meta Farms. It's taking a learning page from what we have put together at Meta Farms. Um, yeah, but it's completely different. Yeah. Similar, same but different.
Hmm, nice. We have some questions in the chat that they're asking us to take a
I
look
just
at.
found the
So,
tab with the public
Yeah,
comments.
comments.
yeah, here we
Maybe
go.
maybe
So
I'll just
Calvin,
address. Yeah.
yeah, Calvin
Ooh,
wants.
Metaverse looks. I see one that's interesting.
Which one do you want to
So
go for?
Metaverse looks like hype from Oscar.
Yeah.
What do you say to that?
So, as I mentioned, Metaverse has a few components to it. So
Mm,
the Industry 4.0 is one, and it's massive, right? So that one is alive and thriving, and the biggest infrastructure player in that space is NVIDIA. So it's not a hype, right? And if you look at for training purposes, specifically in the field of medicine, they're already using elements of the metaverse. It doesn't have to be a game environment, right? The fact that you can train and operate on a virtual patient,
mhm.
that is the metaverse, that visual layer that doesn't exist in real life, right?
Yeah.
I think
Um, yeah,
I think the so-called hype was because Facebook oversold it,
Yeah.
and some movies like Ready Player One sold the dream, right, of being
Yeah.
in a
Escapism.
hyper-connected gameplay environment. I still wish, I think we can get there with where the technology is going, but as we go back to utility, everything needs to begin with utility.
Yeah.
We've seen use cases, for example, where DJs want to learn how to DJ, right, virtually, having a digital twin of an expensive equipment, or a doctor, right, practicing in a experiential environment, or even, as we say, the phygital, where you combine the physical with digital, either be it a visualization of the data in a way, in a spatial method that you can't use in normal dashboards, or in a way that interacts with the user. Because going back to early days of COVID, we were experimenting with different technologies, and we found that when there's an avatar or there's an immersive storytelling, or even if you have control over the output, a two-way interaction, the the data, the information is retained, and the attention of the user skyrockets, right?
Mm,
So that's
true.
what we noticed. And
Yeah.
the metaverse, so as it is right now, the capability is there for these certain benefits, right?
Mhm.
But you got to watch out for the hype that any brand or any other entity is going to sell to you. You know, you have
Yeah,
to look at the
that's it.
utility.
100%. And unfortunately, right now we're dealing with semantics because one
yeah.
brand has coined the name metaverse while taking away the essence, 90% of the essence of what the metaverse actually was.
Yeah,
The
which is
potential that it has.
unfortunate for sure.
Yeah, it's super unfortunate, but you know what? Like that's what we're doing. That's what we're trying to do each week, each month. When we do these live streams, when we do these newsletters, we're trying to clear up the air. And we have another question from Calvin, right? Who also wants to kind of get some clarity around you guys, right? Like it's a great question, right? He asked if you're a Web3 project, and if you are, like
Yes.
how does someone learn more about you? How does someone get more involved?
So
In whether it's the NFTs or the tokenizing sustainability aspect.
yeah, so we're not a project. We're a legitimate company, not a one-off project.
Yeah.
We will have projects under us, but Xctuality's website is exactly that, .com. And we have a metaverse called Actual Life. It is Xctualye .com. And then Metafarms is plural, metafarms.io. And then Verde Whisper in the midst of setting up. And then we have another one as well for fan engagement. So I'm gonna just roll on to the next questions. Just yeah. So anyway, from Gian, I guess. I think Gian's question is related to the DeFi question from Kenneth Corbija. So, okay. So anyway, I think the way we're doing Metafarms is just that. In the process of connecting the farm as a real world asset to the NFT, and by holding the NFT, you're earning the income, part of the income coming from the farm. And it's not shabby. We started paying out our first set of income not too long ago. So we pay out every few months. So we don't pay out every month just because sometimes the cash flow that the farm receives may not be consistently received on the same date. So we also want to make sure there's no huge financial burden on the farmer, right? So we pay it out once every few months, but all in all, that yield is 20%. Okay, so it's in USDT. So so whether or not 20% is good, compare it to TradFi. Okay, what are you making in the bank right now? Okay, even as a fixed deposit, I don't think you make that much. Okay, so I think there's something to be said with Web3 influencing finance, creating DeFi. So a lot of the DeFi protocols and how they do it actually already exist in TradFi in terms of derivatives and options and whatnot. But you know, the geeks in Web3 took it a step further by tokenizing them, by doing swaps, by doing all these other things that actually sometimes already exist in TradFi, just under different names. Okay.
Right.
So with the likes of JP Morgan, Bank of International Settlement, Visa, MasterCard, all these big boys in the finance industry coming into Web3, there are definitely going to be changes. One simple one is the tokenizing of equity, right? That immediately changes the liquidity of a private company, not a listed company. Listed company is already listed, it's freely traded. But imagine private companies are tokenized.
Sure.
Right, and that token is listed, right, on a DEX or a SEX or whatever, right?
That actually ties in perfect with Kenneth's question. Kenneth Corbella asked about how does Web3 influence DeFi, right? And we've touched on that a little bit. We've also touched on DePen. But, I know Warren, I know personally you come from a financial background. Migrating into Web3, what kind of changes have you seen for the better to go from your traditional finance to more of a Web3 and DeFi?
Yeah. So I mean, the Web2 space in finance has already experimented with fractional shares, right? So fractionalization is not a new thing in TradFi. Tokenizing it just makes it a lot more liquid. Okay, so I think a lot of Web3 technologies will just supercharge what Web2 is currently doing. And what is gonna supercharge that even more is AI, right? So AI is part of Web3.
Sure.
So if you're just thinking Web3 is blockchain, then you're missing the whole picture.
Right. I agree. Like everybody thinks that these incremental waves, whether it's IoT, whether it's Metaverse, whether it's AI, whether it's crypto, blockchain, whatever, they all think that they're tiny waves, but it's actually part of a bigger wave that's coming. And you guys have been able to be in front of that wave for quite a long time, and since COVID. But you've also been able to understand the narratives around the future, whether that's the ESG stuff that you're doing or whatever. But lots of really exciting future innovations. What other developments could we expect from you guys moving forward? Whether that's partnerships, alpha, or whatever you want to share.
the Persona NFT, watch out for it. We're gonna be publishing version 1 of our white paper, so we're most likely gonna publish it on our website. So take note of that. We're also coming up with, as part of our fan engagement, a meme game. We can't say the name of it yet because it's not public. So that is going to be launched on Telegram
It's gonna be
pretty
pretty
soon.
exciting. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like,
So that
there's
will be a
probably lot of
project.
people listening to that who's
Yeah,
dabbled
that'll
in
be a
meme
project.
coins this narrative. I feel like there was no altcoin season this year, but there was definitely a meme coin season.
Yeah.
Definitely a hot topic and hot narrative to play around with.
So for Candace's question about benefits of Web3 for regular users, only benefiting startups and companies, not individuals. I think if you're reading mainstream media, it probably sounds like that, especially with all the rug pulls, creating losses for individuals.
Yeah.
So I think look beyond the noise and really start reading from reliable sources on LinkedIn, on X.
And follow
You know,
Nick.
so
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what we're
follow
doing
Nick,
here, right? Like,
right?
we're actually talking about on Web3 Weekly and these monthly
Yeah.
webinars that we're
Yeah.
having with you guys. Like, we're learning a lot, right? We're learning a lot in real time. We're all
because
iterating.
Web3 is gonna revolutionize TradFi. It's gonna decentralize and democratize financial products to the point where it is as simple as playing a game to earn money. You saw that in Xe in the entire Philippines, right? That culture has not gone. And of course, there were some issues with the whole framework, but it doesn't change the fact that the world now saw a new type of behavior and also a new way to make money, right? Especially, exacerbated during the early days of COVID. Right?
Yeah, and I'd also piggyback on that by saying that, like, the idea of like a startup making their way through from 0 to 1 in Web3 is very difficult. It's not as easy as you
0
think.
to
It's
1
not
is
like you're
it's
gonna
very
put
difficult.
you're not going to put crypto.com at the end of your SEO or whatever and think you're going to make it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sadly, we're not all going to make it. And a big part of that is what's happening in crypto, which is giving Web3 a bad rep, whether it's NFTs in a silo, whether it's founders in a silo, whether it's the fact that everybody is looking at it with a different time horizon. But I would say to Kenneth that, like, the benefits are for the individual first, and then the companies, and then the startups, right? Because that's what decentralization means. We're giving the power and the autonomy and the responsibility back to the people. Now, that doesn't mean that maybe at the moment, though, the bad actors are not responsible as we were led to believe or hope to believe, but it still means that you have to separate the tech from people, the humans
Well
from
said. Yes.
the innovation, right? Like, the innovation
because
is
in any ecosystem you're going to have your bad actors, right? Be it the real world with the financial institutions or with Web3, right? And Web3, the technology allows for workers, miners, workers to be paid. There is an ecosystem, there's a system in place, and you've got the ledger where everything is recorded and you can have non-fungible items on that. So people in Web3 space will understand these terminologies, but simplifying it means that you're not able to mess with the data that is put on the blockchain, and you have trust, so implicit trust through the security of the system. On top of that, yes, you can have initial bad actors, but as the technology matures, as people become more aware of what you can use it for, we'll see the utility cases come out. We will see the benefits, right? And this will waterfall down to the everyday person.
Yeah, 100%.
I hope we answered all the questions, especially Oscar.
Yeah, Oscar, does that satisfy you? One thing again, I want to circle back to the very beginning, right? You guys started off in live events. COVID helped you pivot and iterate and innovate to a more virtual inclusive, global, connected space. We know that November, December is going to be big for Southeast Asia in terms of events. Do you guys have any future aspirations of being a part of any events, or are you looking to connect with some people that can perhaps help with live events moving forward, whether that be DevCon here in Bangkok, or additional events that are going to be going all the way on to December? Like, what's your outlook on future developments?
I think we'll definitely participate in events for sure. We just got to make sure we finish our fundraising. And we got a little bit more money to set aside for marketing. That said, I'm actually in early discussions with a carbon development partner to organize our own ESG event. Be the first of its kind.
Nice.
So yeah, discussion is ongoing, but it'll be for next year. Yeah.
We got Mo watching on YouTube Live right now saying, "Come to DevCon Bangkok." So maybe
Adrian can go.
Yeah.
The community is really vibrant, especially in Southeast Asia, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that the American and European and Middle Eastern's not, but there's a different kind of energy here. I think
absolutely a different
Southeast
pace.
Asia. Yeah, maybe it's the heat, but
maybe
I think
maybe
it gets us moving.
It's also like Musegan. Like Musegan is a foundational keystone in the live event scene. I know they're going to be running some side events. I'm gonna help host one in the future. But I think you have to give credit to everyone who has come together to do exactly what you said earlier, Adrian. Like, separate the hype, and separate the bad actors from the technology and the innovation that's actually bringing people together a lot more than dividing them. And so, shout out to Musegan, who will be a massive part of the side events in DevCon. I hope to see you guys up here. I'm very bummed that I didn't get to go to Singapore, and it's cool to hear about it from a FOMO point of view. But I definitely am looking forward to the next few months, and I want to continue talking, continue educating our users and listeners about what you do and how you can bring that to Thailand and then beyond. Because I think honestly, you're super humble with what your aspirations are and what they've already, what your accomplishments have been. So let's try to continue educating everybody and bringing them into Xctuality, Meta Farms, and learning how they can get more involved in your sustainable solutions.
Yeah, we know there's a lot of work ahead of us, and we are always looking for people to collaborate with, especially people who see the same values as us, because sustainability is something that is close to our hearts, and finding the right people and to either work with or collab is so important, so yeah.
Nice. Anything you guys want to talk about before we wrap up? I mean, where else could they find you? Maybe your personal Twitter or X and your personal LinkedIn, and then perhaps even gearing them towards your game and open metaverse itself.
Yeah. So it's all on the website. You can find me on X. It's OG. So
you can also find me on X at Drenboy, DRENBOY. I've been on X since early days. You can follow us on Xctuality as well on X, XCTUALYFE, right?
Yep.
And we are also on Instagram on Xctuality as well.
Yeah. Also Meta Farms. So
and Meta Farms.
Meta Farms IO.
Yeah.
Nice one. Guys, it's good. I think we've answered all the questions. I think Mo's convinced us to come to DevCon. I think at this point we probably realized that we could do another 2 or 3 of these, even just diving into Meta Farms itself. I love hearing about how you guys continue to move forward with the space, how you continue to lead with integrity, ethics, value, and how you're actually redefining the narrative, because so many people hear about blockchain and Web3 and they hear about mining or energy use, and you're flipping the whole script on that. And I just love the educational aspect behind it too. So I just want to thank you guys for being here, being a part of this, and I want to thank everyone else who was coming in with questions. We won't stop. If you have more questions later on, just shoot them to Ms. Egan, shoot them to the comments below. We will try to answer every question from here on out, but do look in deeper, because what's going on with Xctual Life and Xctuality is actually moving the needle in terms of sustainability in Web3 in general. Proud to have you guys on, proud to know you guys, be a part of it, and rooting for you, So do keep in touch and do continue to reach out to the community. But that's it. If we don't have anything else, thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope that you will continue to comment and reach out in the stream or video below.
Okay. Thanks so much for hosting, Nick. Appreciate you as well, and appreciate the community here for having us on as well.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Love what you're doing. Rooting for you, and looking forward to learning more and hearing about more future developments and updates.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Good night, everyone. Bye.